Hey, before we went to break, you were talking about all this talk of Russ this morning. We wake up to Russ, and did he or did he not try to get Pete Carroll and the GM John Schneider fired in Seattle, and then they deal him, days later?
Which is leading us to start a campaign today in the metro area trying to get your bosses fired. We've already have 2 people on board on the text line that are doing the exact same thing.
Okay, great. But it was interesting because on the show yesterday, the news broke that the Broncos were going to hire Vance Joseph as their new DC. The reaction that came from Broncos fans, I guess I was surprised by it. Let me explain. I know the history with Vance is not a good history, and Broncos fans have a visceral reaction to his time here as head coach. But you have to go further than that. Not just, okay, I remember what Vance was as a head coach, because head coach and DC are 2 completely different jobs.
Why are people so flared up about Vance?
I was going to ask you that.
Out about that.
I mean, my question then is, do you not trust Sean Payton to do what's best for his football team? Or do you say, you know what, I know Vance, and I know what I saw with him as a head coach. Sean Payton just royally screwed up. I have no faith in this guy anymore.
You know what I say to everybody who continually assaults my senses with how dare they bring back Vance Joseph? That's all I keep getting. Here's my retort to every single one of you, because I've done it already. So you want me to believe your judgment in Vance Joseph over Sean Payton's? So let me get this straight. Sean Payton spent an entire day with this guy. They actually scripted offenses and defenses. They talked. They sat down for a long time. Sean Payton's a proven winner in this league who has assembled coaching staffs before. You want me to trust your opinion, your judgment of Vance Joseph over Sean Payton?
Well, and I like the hire personally because I like the experience that he brings in. But what it says to me, and you could see this with the candidates that he was interviewing, Rex Ryan, Matt Patricia, Vance Joseph, he wants a head coach of the defense. He wants somebody that he can put in charge of the defense and not have to check in. Now, he will check in. He will check in, but he doesn't want to have to check in on whoever's running that defense. And so, listen, if you're hiring him to be a DC, it's not head coach. Like, don't freak out.
I actually like the staff that he's assembled.
I do too.
He brought in some veteran names and combined them with young, promising, like Davis Webb.
Yeah.
The guy's 28 years old. He's the quarterback's coach. He's 6 years younger than Russell Wilson. He just played. He just played the game. And now he's going to be your quarterback's coach.
And he was a third-string quarterback in Buffalo, and they were all talking about, hey, this guy is a coach. Like, so, he's already a coach. Whenever he wants to make that transition, he will. They did the same thing with Banjo yesterday, too. Another guy who was just in the league last year.
So you take young, promising minds who bring a little bit of verve, right? You bring that, and you surround them with guys like Joe Lombardi, who's a veteran in the game.
And guys who will get respect of those players because they were in a locker room last year. You know what I mean? I think all together, the coaching staff with the experience that they have, both coaching and playing, it's gonna. I really like it.
It's just curious to me. Maybe it's because it's been 7 years of the desert. Why are we so ultra? And not when I say we, it's not me. A lot of people in this town under the microscope with this coaching staff versus like a year ago. A year ago, they hired a coaching staff. Most of them are first-time coaches at their respective spots, and nobody said a peep.
Oh, I think we talked about it, Moj, don't we?
Yeah, we did, but I think we were just excited because it was a new young hire. You know, it was completely opposite of what Vic Fangio brought to the table. Oh, obviously, it didn't work out. You need an adult in the room and a guy who's been there, done that, and they got that in Sean Payton. That's why I trust this hire. That's why I trust him.
But
and people are pointing back to, hold on, Robbie. People are pointing back to like Vance's numbers as the DC in Arizona. Well, you know, how many good players did you have too? His last year before he took the Broncos job, his last year as a DC was in Miami. And he rectified things in Miami. In the last 11 weeks of that season, they were really flipping good. You know, I trust Sean Payton to do what's right. I trust Sean Payton to know who he wants with the personnel he has.
I think, though, that speaks to the 2 head coaches that we're talking about that hired these staffs. And I mentioned this earlier. If you're talking about Hackett's staff, there's not a lot of experience there. And the question in my head is, was he not confident in himself as a leader? Because to put this many people in the room who have big voices, who have a ton of experience, who might tell you something that you don't want to hear, you have to be completely secure in your position as a head coach. And I think that's what these hires are telling me about Sean Payton. He knows he's the dude. And I think that speaks to his overall aptitude to be a leader, whereas Hackett didn't have it.
I don't know why we're so hell-bent about this anyway. Given today's news, if it doesn't work out, Russ will do his part to get these guys fired at the end of the day anyway. So what's the big deal?